Well, we're back. Yeah, it's been a while. I've been out sick, but a lot of things have happened, transpired since then. Glad to get back out here. One of the things I want to talk about today is this week is Spirit Week in the middle school that I'm working in. All right, and so today is the infamous teachers dress as students and students dress up like teachers, which will be very interesting to see the outcome and how they portray the teachers. But here, so you'll notice I have on a headset, I've got on a head scully, and I've got my hood. And so a lot of the students love to come into class or come into school dressed like this, right? So there's systems where we can't have, with headphones on, right? And so you can't walk around with headphones, but they're always trying to get away with it, got the headphones on, they're playing music. And so they shouldn't have electronic devices, right? So their cell phone shouldn't be out, they shouldn't be on there playing games, they shouldn't be on the school laptop playing any games, they should be doing classwork, right? And so today is the day we get, as teachers, we get a little payback, right? So they can actually see themselves, walking around out of dress code and or violating those things that might send them and probably will send them to ISS, right? So here's the dilemma. So we'll be walking around today, or I'll be walking around, and teachers have set up their own costumes basically to reenact how students dress and the way they carry themselves. I'll have on my backpack, my cell phone will be out, and I'll be constantly looking at it and reminding them, yes, this is what we have to continue to tell you. Put that away. Take the headphones off. Take the scullies off. Take the hoodie off. Over and over and over and over and over again, right? Because how can you learn? You're in the classroom. You walk in the classroom. The teacher, is talking to you. You can't hear him. And obviously, with Wi-Fi, you're listening to music and you're trying to do your work at the same time. It just doesn't work. So then you wind up in ISS. And then you say, well, I didn't do anything, right? But now I've been blessed to, when they do come to ISS, we've gotten a rapport to where I'm trying to get them reacclimated back into the classroom and to stop the violations and the codes of getting written up because they need to be in the classroom. Therefore, however, I do, and I had a great opportunity the other day, or yesterday actually, I had a student that felt like, he shouldn't have been put in ISS, right? And so we had conversation. I like to communicate with them because this state asked that we do financial literacy, right? One of like 26 states now require financial literacy as a requirement for graduation, particularly in high school. In the last 2 years, I was at a high school teaching world history. One of the courses I did touch on was financial literacy, right? And so I have a lot of my paperwork here, and what I do is I try to incorporate that back into the ISS curriculum in order for them to kind of have a reinforcement. So when they go back to class, I've already given them a reset on what the student code of conduct is, why they're here, and why they shouldn't be back in here. This is not a fun place. This is not meant to be fun, but I need to make it engaging. So, and also try to get them reacclimated to understand that they need to be in the classroom. That's where they're going to get their grade. I'm going to have them doing work in here. I'm going to have them doing a lot of different things in here in order to motivate them. But this is not to be enjoyable, right? Now, some students, unfortunately, seem to be attracted to it. It's a smaller setting, and they're like, well, I can't really do my work in class because I get distracted. I said, okay, but I understand that, but this is not an alternative for you going to class. You don't get a grade in here. This is a punishment. This is a consequence for you violating the rules, right? So we can't make this into something that it's not, all right? I appreciate that you stop by and say hello, and but I also know that you're peeping in order to see who else is in here, and that's not what we're doing, okay? So this is not a fun stop. But nonetheless, having them come to me and or being able to dialogue and express themselves is part of what the adaptability, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and empathy skills that the I can statements represent. And so I incorporate those. And so we do have discussions in here, and we try to get them to understand, or I try to get them to understand why they're here, and then they hear their other classmates and their dilemmas because they all have violated one of the 26 student code of conduct. All right? So what made my day, right? And what made Teachers Day? Anytime you can connect with the student, that then the light goes off, or it's a connection that they've already been exploring, and it's an interest of theirs. If we can find the interest, I know we don't have the time to do a lot of this stuff because there's a lot going on, right? But if you can inspire them and find that student's interest, now the light goes on, you can make that connection. So the student was feeling like, they all do. They come in and say, well, I didn't do anything. And, the teacher's tripping. And it wasn't me, and it was them. And I asked them, well, where are the them? Where are they? They're not here. You're here. How do you get trapped into being the problem and wind up in ISS? And those who you say were the problem or created the problem, they're not in here. So we're going to have to change that mindset. Somehow you're not going to be able to get trapped into that situation, right? So back to what I'm saying. The young man found out that he's very entrepreneurial inspired. He's talking about vending machines and making money and creating a business. He's an entrepreneur. And so that was the blessing. The light went on and I had him, right? And so I then pulled out some of the things that we do have in here. I have making a budget, right? And I have the students go over that to also let them understand you're going to have a certain amount of education and or skills in order to survive, particularly now. This is 2025. And the world is changing. It's not it's not the world your parents were in. It was not the world that I was in, but the world is changing. Also, shopping lists. A lot of the students, particularly, I have a grocery list here where they have to go grocery shopping. And I've got several of the flyers from local food chains, so they can check prices, right? They check the prices. They do their shopping list. They calculate and add up all of the grocery list. Now, usually I tell them, look, this is your first encounter. I had two students in here that did an excellent job the other day. I had them working collaboratively in order to work together. They're going to be roommates. Let's say it's a male and a female, but they're friends, okay? So they're going to buy a house together or rent together, have separate rooms, bathrooms, and they're going to share the cost, right? So they did the whole breakdown, and they really did a great job of doing the breakdown and understanding and or selecting a career. I have a handout with different careers and what the price ranges or the salary ranges are, and we went over all of those little minute details to get them acclimated into understanding what their parents have to deal with, right? And this is what they're going to have to eventually deal with. This is why education is important, and this is why you can't be in ISS, right? Because this is not necessarily the normal trend throughout ISS, throughout the country or wherever, but our principal or my principal came into the school to turn it around because it was having some problems the last couple of years, and the greatest thing in the world to have, and you teachers know that, is a great administration. And we have a great administration. They're on top of it. They're trying to get these students because, it's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and some of them have been from the 6th to 7th, and so they're aware of what the past was, and they're still here. And so they have to be reprogrammed or reset to understand the importance of education, and that it's not what it was, and it's no disparaging remarks about the previous administrations. However, it's new now, right? And so when you get a different administration, things are going to change. The same thing we go through, and their parents, I explain this as a life lesson, the same thing their parents go through. They get a new job or they get new management. Now there's a different mindset. There's a different culture in the work environment. There's a different culture here now, right? It's not what it was last year, okay? And so if you were here last year and you did ISS or you were in school here and you could do certain things, well, that has changed. And primarily it's changed because now and nothing's really changed, but now we're going by the rules, right? The 26 Student Code of Conduct, you have to follow it. And so what happens is you come in here, and you've been in here 1 or 2 times or more, unfortunately. You've gone over all of this. So it's no longer a secret. It's no longer I didn't know, right? But we have to keep doing it over and over and over and over again until we break that cycle of I can do what I want, when I want. I can talk to teachers how I want. I can say what I want. Why are you bothering me? Everything is why, right? But we're trying to get them to figure out the why should you get an education is the question. Ask that question. This is why I should get an education, because I need to be functional in this new economy. So doing all that information, this kid is looking into vending machines, and he's been talking with his mom and his parents about business, and he got into, and I just let him go, right? He's just telling me how he researched it, and he wants to get vending machines, and he wants to set up a company, and he wants to make a lot of money, all right? And so this kid is really interested in a business course, right? And so he didn't say that, but I mean, it's obvious, right? Because his lights came on. And so I just got ecstatic, And what happened was, as I played the psychological game on the rest of them, right, a few of them who had not been as attentive, now he and I are having this conversation back and forth, and we're just excited, giving high fives, and I'm like, oh man, that's a great idea. And looking at some YouTube videos with these new vending machines that have come out. There's a vending machine that's actually a convenience store in a former setup in a storage unit. You know, those storage units that everybody is building these tiny houses out of, the metal storage unit. This storage unit, this convenience store is in California. It's a new company, but there's robotics that are pulling the items. And the storage unit is probably about what, maybe 12 feet by 35 feet. It's huge, right? And you go with your app, you put in your request, you order whatever. It's got a plethora of things in there. It's like really a convenience store. Now, my point being to them and to him is, well, with AI and with the technology in the future, look at this is where they're going, right? So now you're not going to necessarily need a cashier, right? We already know that to be true when we go to our local grocery stores and food markets and their self-checkouts, right? Where there used to be a cashier scanning everything. That was a dilemma because at first we had to enter everything manually. Cashiers had to enter it in. Not my wife, but my mother was a cashier. She was good at it, right? But that became passe. Now, occasionally now they do enter manually when they can't get the codes to go in, but they have the scanner. So it's boop, 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 right? So then that eliminates that. Now, Walmart, one of the things that came out with Walmart was, remember, they promised to have lines open, no waiting, right? Now we go to Walmart, there's lots of waiting, there's less cashiers with the lights on, and the line to get out in the self-check is like around the corner half the time, right? So this transition, and they also have videos recording you as you're checking out your merchandise. So this becomes an ideal setting to explain to them, look, this is how the world is changing, right? And so as they do a grocery list, they do their budgets, they set up and calculate. And now I was explaining to the young man, I said, you know, I worked in a lot of government. I worked in code enforcement on review of codes that violations, the citizens would come before the code commission, and we'd have to make recommendations and or for their violations. And so there's properties throughout the cities locally that if they're in the right metropolitan area and a high traffic area that are weird shaped, they're very small state or city owned properties that you can't really put a residential there, anything residential, a large business. But what I explained to the young man, if you get one of these large containers that's a convenience store, right, then you can put that there. If it's zoned correctly, you can put that there. And we have a funny shaped room here. It's kind of long and at a funny angle. It's not perfectly square or rectangle. And you'll find a lot of properties like that. There were a few that I saw back in the day in Miami that didn't have, it was a strange thing. It was either by a former railroad or it just sat on a corner and it was a slither of land, right? But it's commercial, right? And again, depending on the area, so I discussed with him, okay, so what would you do that? So how would you critically solve that situation if you saw that opportunity and now knowing that these convenience stores are now available in these large containers and you don't need anyone to basically man them and you've got robots there and obviously they probably got bulletproof glass and everything else is probably secure as it can be. And what would you do? All right. Yeah. Well, you could put it on that slither. And if there's enough room, and depending on where it is, put up some guardrails around it so cars basically can't run into people, and or perhaps then you put out some benches, you know, with an umbrella or whatever, something secure that nobody can really just walk away with, right? So now you got a whole setting, and now I got this kid thinking critically, and he's coming up with ideas, and this is what teachers would love to happen in their classrooms. No doubt about it. That's why they're into teaching. To do that, not to have to, you know, tell a kid to constantly sit down, take off your headphones, take off your hat, take off your hoodie, pay attention, put your cell phone away. Look, this is not why they're here in order to, you know, basically be ruling you, cracking the whip, saying, hey, do this, do that, and now they can't teach, right? And so then they get put in the ISS, and now they have to sit here for long periods of time because that's an all-day event. If it's a day, if they come in here about 9:30, they're here at about 3:30, right? That's about 6 hours, right? And so we've got to engage them. And once they're engaged, and it's difficult sometimes because these are sometimes the children that have some of the issues, social issues, that they can't control themselves or whatever, and they want to either act out or be the class clown or get attention and do all the kind of antics, everything to disturb the classroom. So I'll tell you again, it was a great day. And usually the students say, how's your day? And I said, my day here every day is excellent. Even when I don't have the best of days, even when I was under the weather a few days, a couple weeks back, I pushed through it. I enjoy coming to work in the school. I know it's heart-wrenching across the country. A lot of situations are going on. Students are just, out of control for the most instance, but it is the reward that why teachers got into the profession. And unfortunately, a lot of teachers are leaving because it is becoming somewhat of a system that just, it's not a learning environment in most cases, right? But if we can get those kids that are off track, back on track, motivate them, get them to understand, and perhaps do some of the old school songs. We got to teach a new way, right? That's one of those things, right? The world's changing. Marvin Gaye's song, maybe we need to play that and listen to it and understand that, yes, there's a way, and we have to figure out a way in order to be more creative as much as possible and teach a new way. And so hopefully I'm not teaching at this point, but I am here, and I'm not here to babysit these students because my passion is to not have them be failures in life and motivate them, and at some point they get back on track. And my key is to get them back in the classroom. Don't disrespect the teacher. No profanity to the teacher. None of the violations. Put your cell phones away. Follow instructions, because if you don't, the end result is, again, your parents have to go to a job. They can't be on their phone all day. They can't do what they want to do. They can't walk off skipping class. They can't go off on a 2-hour lunch when our lunch was an hour or half an hour, and then come back and there's no repercussions, all right? And these are the same things that they're gonna have to go through the rest of their life. And so that is the key here, and I really enjoyed this week. This is Friday. Again, this is dress up like a student, and students are dressing up like the teachers, and so I came prepared. I've got my headset, my hoodie, and my hoodie and everything ready to go. And I'm going to go out into the class or out into the hallways and go into the cafeteria this morning while they do their breakfast. And I'm going to just stand around with my cell phone and have my head, because every morning they come in off the bus, it's the same thing. Take your headphones off, take your scully off, take your hoodie off, put your phone away, hurry up and eat, get to class. Class is starting, homeroom. All right? So, again, it's a great day. Great day to be in the school system. And financial literacy is being now required, because most of us went to school and most of the adults say, oh, well, they didn't teach us that in school. And so even though we get taught it, sometimes we get off the rails, right? And because now we're in serious economic times, things are moving, things are changing, a lot of people losing their jobs. And so, but I keep ultimate optimist. We'll get back on track, right? And so that's what we got to keep, a positive attitude about it and do the best we can. But things will get better, and they must get better. But teaching them all of those things about tariffs and everything else with the groceries, the price of eggs, these are all things that teachers can't really get into, but I have to be able to get into because I got enough time to do it. And I have a captive audience, right? Because their next step in ISS, if they don't cooperate in here based on the rules that I read to them when they get in here, their next step is OSS. Now, last, I've had to rewrite up a few people in the cafeteria, and one out of this class that was instructed to go somewhere, and they didn't want to cooperate, and I was instructed to write them up. So then that's just an additional day or two or whatever. So this is no place to play. But again, I'll tell you, it's a life lesson, and I had a great day. This young man really made my day. And when I see him now, as with a lot of other students, right, we've made a connection, and I know that this young man is going to do great things. Again, this is what it's all about. Each one, teach one. Love you. God bless.